Muy bien, chicos, ahora sí vamos a continuar. Let's continue with this video now. Verbs like gustar. Vamos a ver. Let's take a look. If we remember how to use gustar, this topic is going to be very easy. Let's read the paragraph first. We're on page 248, 248. In lesson number 2, you learn how to express preferences with gustar. You will now learn more about the verb gustar and other similar verbs. Observe this example. Vamos a ver. Sorry. Let's take a look. Me gusta ese shampoo. I like that shampoo. In reality, in order to understand this concept, we need to know the literal meaning, which means that shampoo is pleasing to me. Okay, I'm going to point here with the mouse. That shampoo is pleasing to me. That's why we have the me. The subject is placed at the end. Remember with gustar, ese shampoo. That shampoo is the subject. The subject is doing something to someone or to something. In this case, that's something to me. I am the object. That shampoo is pleasing to me. Okay, like gusta or gustar, we have other verbs that behave in the same way. Let's take a look at the other example. ¿Te gustaron las clases? English equivalent will be, did you like the classes? But the literal meaning is, were the classes pleasing to you? Were the classes pleasing to you? Las clases is plural, that's why we say gustaron, and also the question is in past tense. Las clases gustaron. ¿A ti? ¿Te gustaron las clases? Bien. We need to understand and we need to remember this concept in order to continue and to apply to other verbs. Let's take a look at the next triangle here. As the examples show, constructions with gustar do not have a direct equivalent in English. The literal meaning of this construction is to be pleasing to someone in this case. And it requires the use of an indirect object pronoun, which we already know. Another example, me gusta ese champú. Subject, verb, indirect object, pronoun in this case. ¿Ya? Me gusta ese champú. Bien. I like that shampoo will be the translation, but when we translate it, the subject goes first. It's not really the literal translation, it's just the same idea. Bien. Let's take a look here. In the diagram above, observe how in the Spanish sentence, the object being liked, ese champú, is really the subject of the sentence. The person who likes the object, in turn, is an indirect object because it answers the question to whom is the shampoo pleasing. Bien, that's why we say me gusta ese champú. Ok, vamos a ver acá. Dice, ¿te gusta Juan Carlos? Me gustan los cafés, me tienen música en vivo. Me gustan los cafés que tienen música en vivo. Let's take a look at the first question. ¿Te gusta Juan Carlos? Is Juan Carlos pleasing to you? Next. Me gustan los cafés que tienen música en vivo. I like the coffee shops or stores that have music in live. That will be the English equivalent, but in reality, I'm saying the coffee shops or restaurants that sell coffee that have music or live music are pleasing to me. Bien, vamos a ver. Now, let's take a look at some verbs that behave like gustar. These are the most common. Aburrir, encantar, faltar, fascinar, importar, interesar, molestar, quedar. Bien, vamos a poner esto acá arriba para que me vean ahí. Ajá. Vamos a practicar. Let's take a look here. Next page. Next rule says, the most commonly used verb forms of gustar and similar verbs are the third person singular and plural. When the object or person being liked is singular, the singular form gusta is used. When two or more objects or persons are being liked, the plural form gustan is used. Observe the following diagram. Let's see. In other words, normally we're going to use the third person singular and plural because the subject, which is at the end, is to the right, which is here. Let me use the pen. Here, these are the subjects. ¿Ya? Vamos a ver. Dice, la película encanta and you can say me, tele, nos, etc. In other words, the movie, if I say, let's see, importan, I need to, sorry, I'm gonna use the plural versions. Las vacaciones importan me. Me importan las vacaciones. Vacations are important to me. In other words, if I say el concierto encanta me, I'm just reading backwards, but the sentence will be me encanta el concierto. No? The concert is pleasing to me as well. Encantar and gustar are very similar. Encantar has a more intense degree of pleasing. Bien. That's why normally we're going to use the third person singular or plural because the subject most of the times is going to be something that is singular or something that is plural, like here. That's what it's saying here. Vamos abajo. To express what someone likes or does not like to do, use an appropriate verb followed by the infinitive. The singular form is used even if there's more than one infinitive. So don't forget, verbs are actions, and it doesn't matter how many we have. If they are the subject, they we're going to use always the singular version of the verb that we're using. Uh, for example, nos molesta comer a las 9. Okay, it bothers us to eat at 9 o'clock. In other words, eating at 9 bothers us, yeah, or to us. Comer. Comer is a verb. Okay, comer is one verb. Because it's one verb, that's not the reason why we say molesta with a third person singular. Let's take a look at the next example. Sorry, let me get rid of this little. Okay, now, les encanta bailar y cantar en las fiestas. Okay, let's take a look at this. They love to dance and sing at parties. But the real translation is dancing and singing at the parties are pleasing to them. We have two verbs that behave like subjects, dancing and singing. Even though they are verbs in infinitive, they behave like the subject. The activity, the action of dancing and singing are pleasing to them. We can have more than 2 or 1,000 verbs. Always we're going to use the third person singular conjugation of the verb that we're using. In this case, encantar becomes encanta. Yeah, that's what this paragraph is trying to tell us. We can have one verb that behave like as a subject or two verbs or more than two verbs. Always we're going to use the third person singular. Encanta, no encantan. Molesta, no molestan. Bien, next one. We know, no, as you learn in lesson number 2, the construction a plus pronoun or the irregulars a mí or a ti with the other ones, regulars a usted or a él, etc., is used to clarify or to emphasize who is pleased or bothered or etc. The construction a plus noun can also be used before the indirect object pronoun to clarify or to emphasize who is pleased. For example, you can say, a los turistas les gustó mucho Machu Picchu. We're using the past tense here. You can use this verse in present or past, it's okay. The translation of the idea is that tourists liked Machu Picchu a lot, but in reality, we know that the translation is Machu Picchu was very pleasing to the tourists. If I say just less, we don't know to whom we are referring. So we can say a los turistas, you can say a ellos, a ellas, a ustedes. Here, a los turistas. We're using a noun here to clarify. Next example. A ti te gusta cenar en casa, pero a mí me aburre. Here we're using a ti y a mí just to emphasize because we don't really need to say a ti. Why? Because the te refers only to you, a ti, and me refers only to me, me. Why I'm using a ti or a me? In this case, to emphasize who is pleased or who is bothered, etc. Depends of the verb that we're using. A ti te gusta cenar en casa, but a mí me aburre. Yeah? So don't forget, attention, me, which is in English me, of course, has an accent mark to distinguish it from the possessive adjective me, which is my. The accent mark is the pronoun, and without the accent mark is the adjective. Bien? Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video.